Welcome to the Guided Expressions podcast with Martin Williams, the place to learn and be inspired to live your best life. Here is your host, Martin Williams.
Hello, everyone. My name is Martin Williams, and thank you for tuning in to the Guided Expressions podcast. Please subscribe to the podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, and SoundCloud as well. All the links for the podcast can be found at guidedexpressions.com/podcasts or on YouTube, wherever you are listening to this, on YouTube, of course. So thank you so much for tuning in. Today, what I wanted to talk to you about is the Blueprint Visualization System. It's a program that I'm coming out with. A rather short training. Is shorter than the Blueprint itself, but this is more or less an introduction to visualization and how to use visualization to bring about the type of life changes that you want. Visualization is something that you discover. It's not something that you necessarily create, even though you can create through visualization. It's a power that you have to discover because we all have it and we all do it. Like, people oftentimes want to be taught visualization, but the funny thing is that they're already doing it. It's just that they don't realize what they're doing or how they're doing it. And so I like to call visualization something like a discovery. You discover your power of visualization and you use it on purpose versus using it by accident and having some sporadic success, but oftentimes visualizing negative things or visualizing things that you don't want. So I like to call visualization a superpower. It's a superpower that we all have, right? If you watch a superhero movie, and usually when a superhero or a superheroine discovers their powers for the first time, it's often through, an accident, or it's through some kind of problem that they have to overcome, and they realize that they have this power. And they're able to, from that point on, use that power on purpose versus using it, again, by accident or using it sporadically. And so visualization is that for a lot of people, including you and including me. It's just that we don't use it a lot of times as often as we should. I think visualization is something you should use every single day. I think when you get up in the morning, you should be visualizing at bare minimum how you want your day to be. You should be visualizing how you want the outcome of your day to go. Do you want to get everything done? Do you want to be refreshed and feel rejuvenated? These are things that you should visualize happening before you jump into your day. And oftentimes people do the exact opposite. We just get up and just kind of go into our day, but we don't really set an intention on how we want that day to go. So what has visualization done for me is a very good question. I remember when I was, and I'll just pick out a couple stories. There's a lot of stories, but I'll pick out a couple. I remember when I was in Dominica, which is a Caribbean island, and I was going to medical school. It was an American medical school that was situated on this island, and so things didn't go too well there. Had a lot of financial issues, and also had trouble really keeping up with the courses and everything else, and I eventually had to leave. So when it came time to leave, I had to take a van from the school where the school was, which was, I believe it was Portsmouth, Dominica, to Roseau. Roseau is the capital of Dominica. So from Portsmouth to Roseau is roughly an hour, and it's along the coastline of the Caribbean Sea. So, you see some amazing views on the way down to Roseau, but, it's also like if you watch movies that are set in California, you see the roads are, they're kind of like winding roads and are on like the edge of these cliffs. So, basically like one wrong turn and you might end up in the Caribbean Sea, right? And so the people that drive these vans, because they know the road so well, they're basically speeding. And I don't even know if there was a speed limit in Dominica at the time. A lot of people drove as if there wasn't one. So these drivers are driving 80 miles, 60, 70 miles an hour around, these cliffs. And so some people who aren't used to that would get car sick. But anyway, that's a side note. So I took the van. I was going to take the van down to Roseau, where I would catch a ferry, which would take me to Guadeloupe. And then from Guadeloupe, I would fly to San Juan and then eventually fly to the States and fly home. I had to change planes like maybe 2 or 3 times in order to get to my home at the time, which was Virginia. Anyway, I had a small problem, right? My mom had purchased a ticket for me to go back home, okay? But I didn't have enough money to go from where I was in Portsmouth to Roseau. I just didn't have it. So it was a bit of a problem. And these people, money was very tight in Dominica. Maybe it's changed now, but back then there was a lot of poverty. So, these guys that were working, they weren't going to do you a solid and give you a free ride, nor was I expecting them to. But I didn't have any money. So it became an issue. Like, okay, well, how am I going to get to Roseau and catch this ferry? And there's no refunds. And my mom, she didn't have a whole lot of money either. She was basically like doing, kind of just taking from there to help me out. Long story short, I'm looking through all of my change and I find some euro coins, because when I was in Guadeloupe the last time, I had gotten some euro coins. Now, the euro was used in Guadeloupe because Guadeloupe is kind of a territory of France, much like Puerto Rico is a territory of the United States. So Guadeloupe, they used the euro there. And so I had euro coins. And then, I kept them. So I was keeping them as a souvenir to take back to the States. But I couldn't, I didn't have any other money. So in Dominica, you can't use the euro. The euro is, that's for Guadeloupe, and Dominica is what's called the EC, or the Eastern Caribbean dollar. So all the Eastern Caribbean countries kind of band together and use the same currency. And there's a significant value difference. I think at the time it was like 1 to 3. So basically 1 euro was worth 3 Eastern Caribbean dollars. I'm taking a long trip here, but bear with me. Now, when it came time for the van to come, I had to figure something out. So I just gave the driver the euro coins, and he kind of looked at them. He looked at me, and then he's like, "Let's get in the car," right? So that was a win. But again, I was racking my brain, like, how am I going to get in this van? So before he came, out of nowhere, I just visualized me being on the ferry and getting to Guadeloupe. Now, the only way that I'm going to get on the ferry and get to Guadeloupe was for me to get that van down to Roseau. And, I wasn't just under a money crunch, I was also under a time crunch. So anything bad happens, any accident happens, any flat tire, anything, I'm missing that ferry and I'm out that money. And again, my mother didn't have any real extra to send because she had her own bill. She had her own responsibilities. My sister was, I think, maybe 5 or 6 at the time. Like she didn't have any extra money like that. So she was a little older, but still, my point is, everything had to work perfectly in order for me to get on that ferry. And I visualized it. And the thing is, I hadn't taken a visualization class, hadn't really read about it. I read a little about Brian Tracy and, the power of positive thinking and all that stuff. But I hadn't really read like in depth. I hadn't really studied it, but I visualized, I said, I'm getting on that ferry. And I started seeing myself on that ferry, and sure enough, it happened. And I said, wow, that's amazing. Because again, everything had to work out perfectly in order for me to get on that ferry. And so that was one cool story about it. And then another one was I wanted to go to California. I didn't need to go, but I wanted to go to California. And I was working for a company in Pennsylvania, and they were going to send people to trainings, right? They had a training that was local, but I didn't want to go local. I wanted to go to California. So I was told that, well, they have a local training. They're not going to send you to California, right? That's what I was told. So I could have just gave up on it and said, all right, I'm just not going to go to California. I got to go local and take the training there. But I didn't settle for that. I said, no, I really want to go to California. But it would have been the first time that I've ever been. So what I did was, in my apartment in Philadelphia, I just started reading Neville Goddard, and his work really touched me in a way that very few works have before or since, to be honest. And I still read and listen to Neville Goddard to this day. And so he, if for those of you that know Neville Goddard, you know that the biggest thing he talked about was visualization. That was his main thing. So he would talk about how, you visualize where you want to be, and then you feel as if you're already there, and, bring in all of your senses. And he told his own stories as well. So I stood in my apartment, and I felt the sand of California. I felt the wind coming from the ocean. I felt all of that in my apartment. I used every part of my senses. I used my mind. I used all of that to feel as if I was already there. That's what I did. And I didn't spend a lot of time, maybe 5 or 10 minutes, and then I just let it go. So I was, at the time I was living by myself. I was in the midst of a divorce, and when we got the apartment, we got it together. And then once the divorce started kicking in, of course, my ex-wife, she moved back to her home, and I was more or less trying to figure out how to pull everything in the house together on one income. So yeah, it was an adjustment period. It wasn't the worst thing in the world, but it was tight for a little while. So I didn't have a whole lot of extra money. So basically I needed them, because the way most work trips operate is that you pay for the trip and then get reimbursed. Well, I didn't really have a lot of money to pay for a trip going there anyway. So, it was a bit of a problem. But anyway, I visualized it and then I released it. So when I was in church that week, I got the urge to give money. And I always give, but I was more or less struggling with it because, again, money was tight, and I had a heart to give, but at the same time, I was looking at my expenses, and I was looking at all these different, obligations that I gotta fulfill. So I said, around, I'm just going to release this money, and I gave $40, right, in church. And again, there wasn't a whole lot of extra money for anything. But I gave it, and that was that. And so a few days later at work, I asked one of the admins to, if the company would front me the money to fly to California instead of a reimbursement. Now, I was told again that this is not done, right? I was told that this is not something that's possible. This is not done. Can't do it, right? So maybe like 2 days later, the employee walks and gives me a check, and it's the check for the flight out. So I was able to fly out to California. Now, that's not the end of the story because, again, there's really no extra money, so I'm going to need to eat while I'm out there. I'm going to need to get around and all this other stuff. But so I needed to fly out to California. So I bought the ticket, and I was able to buy the ticket back and forth, but there was no extra money after that, right? And so after the plane ticket was purchased, I got to the airport, and they overbooked the flight, as many airlines do, and they said, well, here's what we need to do. We need to, basically ask some people to fly standby and take a later flight. So I went ahead and volunteered, and for my troubles, I got a free ticket, right? Which was pretty cool. And, I think the ticket was worth up to, I don't know, $400 or something, anywhere that airline flew. Okay, so I had that in my back pocket, which was pretty cool. And then, I get out to California, and I had an amazing time. I had no money, right? I had no money, really. I mean, I probably had less than $50. I had to make $50 last three and a half days in California. But, I made it happen. There was a lot of Carl's Jr. and, it was a lot of, taking the bus and whatnot. But, I didn't care because it was just so much fun. And it was the summer, and the days were longer. So after my training was done, I had time to explore and see all of what California had to offer. And I ended up at the beach, and it was really a fulfilling feeling to stand on the beach and stand on that sand, because I had visualized that exact same picture in Philadelphia. And when you look at everything that had to shift in order for that to happen, that's a power that we've all got, right? We've all got it. And look at all the other extras that I got out of it. I was able to, get a free ticket anywhere, and, it was really cool. So one more story was when I needed to go back to school. I needed to finish up my master's degree, and I just run out of money. I'd spent thousands of dollars, and I got to a point where I couldn't really spend any more, and so I had to take a break. And in the midst of taking a break, the school I was going to said, well, you can't really use those credits anymore because you were out for too long, which, I had a bit of a problem with, but, it is what it is, right? I had to basically finish, and what they did was that they put me into a different master's program where I could use my credits. But the bottom line was that I needed another probably $6,000 to finish, and I just didn't have it. And I was, I just had a lot going on. I had a lot of like money coming out for other things, and so there just wasn't a lot to go around. So what I did was that I went back to my visualization again, and I visualized having that degree in my hand. And I went a step further. I created a degree online and put my name on it. There's a website where you can put your name on a degree, and it looks real, and save it. So that's what I did. I saved it, and then what I did was I visualized graduating. I visualized having the degree in my hand. I didn't visualize how I was going to be able to pay for it. I didn't visualize any of that. I visualized having a degree in my hand, and I visualized graduating, and I just kept doing it. I certainly did it more than a few times, and out of nowhere, I got some money, some unexpected money, and I also got I got a tax refund, and I was working at a job, probably the best paying job that I'd ever had up to that point. And all these confluence of factors, I was able to finish my degree. And so I told all those stories and took really long trips in telling those stories to really get over to you how powerful visualization can be. And, maybe money is not an issue for you. Certainly, money was an issue in all three of those. But maybe money's not an issue for you. Maybe it's, health. Maybe it's time. Whatever the case may be. The Blueprint visualization system is really designed to visualize the end goal, like visualizing where you want to end up and playing that movie over and over again, seeing yourself in the movie and not being concerned about how you get there. Okay, because when you start getting concerned about how you get there, that basically throws a wrench in everything. And most of the time, people just give up because of all of the challenges that they may be facing at the time. And instead of worrying about how you're going to get there, you just say, you know what, I'm doing this. I'm going to see myself there. And this is a power that we all have. And it's something that cuts through every limitation that you could possibly have. And you'd be amazed what you are able to create when you start using this system, right? You use this system for everything. You use this system for, if you have financial problems, you use it for that. If you have health problems, you visualize yourself being healthy. Visualize yourself walking around with no pain. Visualize yourself telling people, I feel great, I feel amazing, right? If you're sick, you're not going to be telling people that, right? So visualize yourself telling people how great you feel, how healthy you feel, how much energy you have. Visualize telling people what an amazing job you've got. Visualize telling people about your business. My business is amazing. Like, my business is bringing in more income than I've ever made before. My business is bringing in all kinds of opportunities, and, just talk about where you want to be and then visualize yourself being there, right? And what happens is that your subconscious mind, the more that you play this movie, your subconscious mind, because of the way that you're made, starts moving things around and really moving you around and changing you and placing you in positions where you can make that happen for yourself. And not only, it's not just you, but, it puts you in position, and, it also it also gives you inspiration to say the right things. It gives you an inspiration to do things, just like it gave me the inspiration to give that money in church. It gave me the inspiration to use my Euro coins. It gave me the inspiration to, one addendum to the story about me getting my degree. I started registering for my courses before I had the money, right? Because they let you pre-register. So I would register for my courses, and I would hit send, and then I did that one semester and I lost my courses, and then I did it the next semester and then I got them. But I registered as if I had the money already. It's things like that, okay? And when you get really good at this, you'll go from maybe, getting parking spaces or, smaller things to big things. And you're able to do that because you have that power within you already. You just, for a lot of people, they just don't know how to use it. And that's where I come in. I teach people how to use it. So that's what the Blueprint Visualization System is a program, and it will walk you through all the steps to visualize the type of life that you want. And it's exciting. It's fun. Visualization is one of the most fun things that you can do. It's completely free. The program isn't, but visualization is free. And it's something that I think a lot of people will like. I think you'll enjoy it. And I look forward to having it in your hands really, really soon. Hopefully by May 1st, I will have that 100% completed and ready to share with the world. And I can't wait until I get it into your hands. I think you're going to love it. I think you're going to see a life change in you that you've never seen before, and it's going to be awesome. So thanks for listening to me ramble about some of the stuff that's happened in my life, and hopefully it helped you, hopefully encouraged you to really dive deeper into this visualization system and hopefully get the program. And I think the program is going to be a blessing to you. So again, my name is Martin Williams. Thank you so much for tuning in. Please like, share, comment, and subscribe to the podcast. And I will talk to you soon.
Don't forget to subscribe to the Guided Expressions podcast on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, or Spotify to get all the latest content from Guided Expressions. No one builds a house without a blueprint, so why are you trying to build your dream life without one? That's how the Blueprint course was created. The Blueprint course is for people who know they were meant for more. Created by Martin Williams, the Blueprint is a streamlined way to help you create the life you've always wanted. Get instant access now by clicking the link in the description box or going to guidedexpressions.com/blueprint.